History of pharmacy. Pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakon. Pharmakon means a charm or medicine, and it can be used for both good and evil purposes. Apothecary comes from the Greek word apotheca, which means a place where wines, spices, and herbs were stored. Ancient people believed that evil spirits or angry gods cause illness. The medicine man performed rituals and administered potions to heal people. Often the cure was due to the body's own natural healing process or to placebo effects. Witchcraft, religion, medicine, and pharmacy were combined as important parts of healing. One of the earliest known records written around 1500 BC was the Ebers Papyrus. It is best known and most important record on the apothecary system from ancient Egypt. The Ebers was a single roll of yellow-brown papyrus about 12 inches wide and over 22 yards long. It was wrapped in mummy cloth and packed in a metal case. The text was in black ink, and the section headings and weights and measures were in red ink. The Ebers contain a collection of more than 800 prescriptions or ancient recipes for the apothecaries of the time. It mentions over 700 different drugs. Some of the medicinal compounds described in these ancient manuscripts, for example, castor oil can be used to treat constipation, and willow bark was used to reduce fever and pain. Hippocrates was a Greek physician born in 460 BC. He became known as the founder of medicine and was regarded as the greatest physician of his time. He based his medical practice on observations and on the study of the human body. He held the belief that illness had a physical and a rational explanation. He rejected the views of his time that considered illness to be caused by superstitions and by possession of evil spirits and disfavor of the gods. Hippocrates held the belief that the body must be treated as a whole and not just a series of parts. He accurately described disease symptoms and was the first physician to accurately describe the symptoms of pneumonia as well as epilepsy in children. He believed in the natural healing process of rest, a good diet, fresh air, and cleanliness. He was the first physician that held the belief that thoughts, ideas, and feelings come from the brain and not the heart as others of his time believed. He developed an oath of medical ethics for physicians to follow. Physicians take this oath today as they begin their medical practice. Today, Hippocrates is known as the father of medicine. The Materia Medica is a pharmacopoeia of medicinal plants and the medicines that can be obtained from them. It is written by Pedanius Dioscorides. It is consisted of 5 volumes of text, and they describe drugs such as opium, aloe, belladonna, ergot, and acetylsalicylic acid, which are still in use today. He traveled throughout the Roman Empire to discover the remedies. He recorded descriptions and instructions for growing and preserving the different plants. His work also gave dosage, medicinal uses, and side effects, and was considered to be the major authority on drugs for 16 centuries. With the establishment of the Christian Church, many monasteries were founded. The herbs that were left behind by the Romans became the backbone of the monastic apothecary garden. From the 5th to the 12th centuries, the remnants of Western knowledge of medicine and apothecary was preserved in the monasteries. Monasteries became centers for learning and medicine. People would flock to them for healing, both spiritually and physically. In Europe, in 1240 AD, the apothecary and medicine were formally separated. Separating the doctors from the pharmacists acknowledged that apothecaries required special knowledge, skill, initiative, and responsibility if adequate care of the medical needs of the people was to be guaranteed. It was during this time that the first public apothecaries began appearing in Europe, as had already appeared in the Arab nations. In London, apothecaries were originally members of the Grocers' Guild starting in 1316, when it was known as the Guild of Pepperers. By the mid-16th century, there were public apothecary stores in London. It was not until 1617 that apothecaries were granted their own guild and split from the Grocers' Guild to form the Worshipful Society of Apothecaries of London. In 1498, the first Pharmacopoeia, the Nuovo Receptario, originally written in Italian, was published and became the legal standard in Florence, Italy. It was given official status and was to be used by all apothecaries in Florence. It was a collaboration of the Guild of Apothecaries and the Medical Society. It was about 50 years before other political jurisdictions started to follow Florence and issue their own pharmacopoeia. Pharmacopoeia literally means drug making. It is a book containing directions for the preparations of medicines. In Canada, we use both the US Pharmacopoeia and the British Pharmacopoeia. The US Pharmacopoeia was founded in 1820. USP establishes written, documentary, and physical reference standards for medicines. These standards are used by regulatory agencies and manufacturers to help to ensure that these products are of the appropriate identity as well as strength, quality, purity, and consistency. The first edition of the British Pharmacopoeia was published in 1864. The British Pharmacopoeia is an annual, published collection of quality standards for UK medicinal substances. It is used by individuals and organizations involved in pharmaceutical research, development, manufacturing, and testing. In 1604, Louis Herbert became Canada's first unofficial pharmacist. He came to Nova Scotia from France and planted his own herb garden and cultivated the plants to provide medicines for the pioneers. Diesel's drugstore may even be the oldest pharmacy in Canada, having opened in 1829, but there are no registry records to confirm the status. It might be surprising to dig into the past of some of our most popular drug companies such as Bayer's branded product heroin, which was touted as a non-addictive substitute for morphine, until it was discovered that it actually metabolized into morphine only on a much more powerful scale. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and let's hope intentions were pure when companies were creating such obviously, but currently, bad ideas as cigarettes to help soothe asthma. Interestingly enough, paregoric, which contains powdered opium, is still available in medications, but to a much more limited extent. The scariest part of widely untested drugs are the ingredients that we now know have very intense effects. For instance, Victorian parents used to administer drugs containing opium to their children to help quiet them down when they went away for work. Nefarious ingredients were slipped into soothing syrups for teething children or to help settle down a child's cough. It is widely famous that Freud thought cocaine was a wonder drug that helped the mind, but so did the Pope. Cocaine used to be used in everything from cough drops to wine and even to soda, Coca-Cola's original incarnation. Pope Leo XIII enjoyed Mariani's coca wine so much that he awarded it a Vatican medal, and they used his image in their advertising. Queen Victoria and Thomas Edison were also said to be great fans. In 1867, Canada became a nation. The new legislation initiated at the time included medical acts, which sought to control pharmacy since the education of physicians at the time included compounding and apprentice physicians were working in pharmacies. To control the pharmacy profession, pharmacists began the process of establishing a pharmacy licensing body. In 1881, an act passed in Alberta restricting the sale of drugs and medicine to only those persons holding a pharmacy diploma from a medical faculty in Great Britain, Ireland, or Canada. Before this act, anyone could open a store and establish a professional practice regardless of their qualifications. Here are Alberta first. 1921. first class to graduate in the British Empire from a 4-year degree program. 1939, first Hospital Pharmacist Association was organized. 1962, first pharmacists were allowed to use generic drugs from brand names. 1970s, family patient records were mandatory. 1975, first pharmacist in Canada to implement Continuing Education Unit, or known as CEU. And in 2007, Alberta pharmacists were the first to be authorized to give injections and to be able to prescribe. Establishing a drugstore after arriving at Fort Macleod in 1884, J.D. Higginbotham was the first president of the Alberta Pharmaceutical Society and held Certificate No. 1 in that society. He was a community leader and a member of the University of Alberta Senate. As early photos show, his building was the center of town with Brother Ed helping give out the meal. Women in pharmacy. Annie Simpson was the first woman in Western Canada to receive her diploma in 1896. Since the 1960s, the number of women graduating has increased. Today, over 60% of pharmacists working in Alberta are females. In 1892, the pharmacists in the Northwest Territories formed a pharmacy association, which included Alberta, Saskatchewan, Yukon, and the current Northwest Territories. In 1907, the Canadian Pharmaceutical Association was formed. The Department of Pharmacy became a school in 1917, and in 1921, the first-degree pharmacists graduated from the University of Alberta. There were only 3 students. To become a pharmacist in 1914, students had to have completed grade 10 and must have been a minimum of 14 years old. The tuition was $50. In 1945, Alberta had established a mandatory 3-year degree program for pharmacists. Hospital pharmacists were supervised by a nurse, sister, or hospital matron who dispensed medications in her spare time. In 1939, the first Hospital Pharmacist Association was organized. At the time, there was only one hospital pharmacist working at Calgary General Hospital. Today, there are hundreds of pharmacists employed with Alberta Health Services. In 1963, the Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada was established as a national exam board for pharmacists seeking entry to practice licensure in Canada. In 1968, Alberta moved to a 4-year degree program to meet the PEBC standard for pharmacists. In 2001, the PEBC implemented the performance-based component, Objective Structured Clinical Examination, known as OSCE, to complement the written component of the qualifying exam for pharmacists. In 2009, the PEBC developed and piloted an examination for the certification of pharmacy technicians. This examination includes a written multiple-choice examination and a performance-based examination called OSPE, or Objective Structured Performance Exam. In 1911, the Alberta Pharmaceutical Association was founded. In 2000, the Alberta Pharmacists Association split into 2 separate organizations, one to represent the public interest and one to represent the pharmacists. The Alberta College of Pharmacists, or ACP, is the regulatory body that is responsible for the licensing of pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. The Alberta Pharmacists Association is a voluntary association that advocates on behalf of the pharmacists. In 2006, the Alberta College of Pharmacists became involved in the regulation of technicians and a regulation working group was established. Both pharmacists and pharmacy technician representatives provided advice to the registrar and council of the ACP. In January 2008, the Voluntary Register for Pharmacy Technicians was established by the Alberta College of Pharmacists. In 1998, the Canadian Association of Pharmacy Technicians, or CAPT, established a Pharmacy Technician Certification Board, or PTCB. In 1999, the PTCB began a voluntary certification exam for pharmacy technicians. Memberships are available for pharmacy technicians and pharmacy assistants. The Pharmacy Technician Society of Alberta was established in February 2008 to enhance upon the strength and leadership of Alberta pharmacy technicians shown over the past 2 decades. The mission of the group is to provide member services and to promote pharmacy technician professionalism. Their values is focused towards leadership, collaboration, professionalism, communication, accountability, and integrity. The Pharmacy Technician Society of Alberta is the recognized leader for pharmacy technicians in Alberta and an integral partner in optimizing pharmacy services. Pharmacy technician liability insurance includes errors and omission insurance. All regulated technicians will require $1 million in liability insurance. The cost is $100 per year. For professional development, they provide access to free and discounted continuing education. You just have to bring your membership card to verify your membership at the Text in Touch CE events held in your local city. There is a $5 fee for non-members. Reduced registration rates at select conferences and special events. There's also access to job postings and career opportunities. Member newsletter, email notices on current issues and regulation support, members-only website section. For student membership, it is $30 per year and full membership is $50 per year. Note that this is information from pre-pandemic time. In May 2007, the Canadian Council for the Accreditation of Pharmacy Programs, or CCAPP, approved the criteria for the pharmacy technician training programs. In 2008, the first group of pharmacy technician training programs were accredited by the CCAPP in Ontario. Today, there are 5 CCAPP programs in Alberta, 2 in Calgary, 2 in Edmonton, and 1 in Red Deer, 2 private and 3 public schools. In the summer of 2008, 2 pharmacy technicians were appointed as observers to the ACP Council, Robin Burns and Teresa Hennessy. Today, we have pharmacy technicians with voting privileges on the ACP Council. In January of 2011, Robertson College, Calgary campus was awarded a provisional accreditation status from the CCAPP. In October 2013, Robertson College, Calgary campus was awarded full accreditation status from CCAPP. Robertson College is the only private fully accredited college in Alberta. Robertson College started the PT program in 2008. Today, we have both a pharmacy technician and a pharmacy assistant courses offered at the college. On July 1, 2011, pharmacy technicians were added to the Health Profession Act as a regulated profession.